I can still remember the sound my neck made when it broke. I remember it sounding like snapping celery. It was loud, and it's like flipping the light switch. The moment that happened, my body went completely dark, just numb, and I flailed down the back of the jump, and I could see my arms and my legs just ragdolling. And I landed on my right side, and my left hand was in front of my face. My goggles were dusty, my visor's down, and I'm just laying there, and I knew exactly what happened. I knew my neck was broken. I could barely breathe. Nothing moved. I was as motionless as the rock that was next to my hand.
I was with the friends. We left the bar. It was last call. Another one of my roommates who I was with, her guy friend, met up with us, and he lived just a couple blocks down. This was downtown Sacramento, so it's a grid, so everything's pretty close to each other. So we walked to his house, and there was scaffolding up in front of the house, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we go up on the, we go up on the scaffolding, and it's a really pretty view of the city, all the lights." And so they made it seem like it was totally okay. And I was like, yeah, and I'm pretty adventurous. Like, I like to do things that, I don't know, who wouldn't want to go look at the pretty city lights? Like, that sounded fun to me. So we climbed up there, and then I was up there with my roommate at the time, and it was a wooden plank. And at this point, I don't really exactly remember how it happened. Like, I have no idea how it happened, but the planks broke, and I ended up landing on my face. So I face planted down, and I literally just couldn't move anything. Like, I could move my hands, but I could not even get my hair out of my face. And I just remember my roommate being like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay, but I can't move. Like, I literally can't move." So I was kind of freaking out at that point.
Basically, I went in to have Anna, and the anesthesiologist made a mistake with the epidural. She put the wrong chemical in the epidural. It burned my spinal cord. And the doctors didn't realize it right away. They thought I was sort of having an experience of being histrionic. "Oh, what's happened?" I said, "My legs are burning. This isn't right." And they said, "Oh, we think that you're just calm down. You just had a baby," that kind of thing, to try to placate me, which just made me more incensed. And come the next day, I was still sitting there, nothing like the first epidural. I knew something wasn't right. They put me in the MRI. They missed it in the first MRI. They put me in another MRI. And finally, then the neurosurgeon came in, and apologized. He said, "I did miss it in the first MRI. I'm really sorry." So they missed my window for steroids, if that would have been helpful, which everyone believes that when you get an injury like that, that can be very helpful to reduce the swelling.
I was walking to school, which was actually not normal because at the time I didn't have a car. And so my mom's friend, who was retired, would drive me to school. And this one day, she didn't drive me to school. She was sick. And so I was trying to decide whether I was even going to go, because I was a senior. I had 2 classes, but then I was like, no, I'll go. So I started walking to school, and I didn't even make it even 500 feet from my house, and the tree, I was walking and it was really windy and a tree just fell on me. I don't know how, I don't remember. All I know is I woke up and there's a tree on top of me. The second I woke up, I knew that I was paralyzed because it just felt like there was nothing.
It was Memorial Day, and was diving off of Havasupai waterfall, and then someone said, "Oh, there's a rock, you should go dive off that rock." I said, "Well, is it safe?" "Oh yeah, people dive off that rock, They didn't know that it was El Nino and the water level changes. And so where I dove off of was too shallow. When I dove into shallow water, I hit the bottom, shattered the 5th vertebrae, but I was still totally conscious and aware of what had happened because my father, my adoptive father, ironically enough, owned a company that did spinal implants. So I grew up watching spinal cord surgeries. I dove in. It was like a shock of electricity went through my body and shut everything off. And I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't get back to the surface. And I held on for as long as I could. And I said, well, that's it. I can't do anymore. I can't hold. My body is at its limit. And I've panicked enough, so I accept death. And I had a nice conversation with my creator and just said thank you for life.
It really was just a normal day. Wake up, do your normal routine, go to the track, did all my practices, got my qualifying done, and then the first race of the night, it seemed like what was a normal race, and then a guy made a mistake in front of me. I was forced to roll one of the big jumps, and the guy behind me jumped it and landed right on me. It was a pretty surreal moment. I remember the whole thing. I wasn't knocked out or anything, but I remember laying on the ground and not feeling my legs, and honestly not being surprised about it. Like I knew when it was happening, like this is going to be a big crash, So, it all changed in that moment.
I remember it was a Monday morning and got there early, was surfing for a little while, and then my friends all started showing up. And about an hour later, I took off on a wave, and I was going down the line, and I pulled inside of the barrel, and when I came out, the wave hit me on my back, and I didn't really have time to put my hands up. I ended up going head first into the water, and I thought it was deeper than it was, so felt like I'd be all right. And then just like a split second later, I ended up hitting my head on the shallow sandbar, and honestly, at that moment, my whole body just went limp and numb and tingly, and it was a weird feeling. I honestly felt like my arms went behind my back, and like just whole tingly like throughout my whole body. Like I was like hit by this pitchfork, and I was just like shaking. And seriously, at that time, like I couldn't move, and I was floating just face down in the water, just holding my breath, hoping for a wave to turn me over. And when it did, I knew like that was my chance to call for help.
We were walking home, and one of her friends saw us. They were driving, and we were walking, and they're like, "Hey, Jen, you want to ride?" And so we got in the car, and they were, we went home, and the driver was arguing with his girlfriend. And so we parked, and they were still arguing, and my mom was like, "Okay, bye," like super awkward, wants to get out of there quickly. And so we got out of the car, and in the time it took us to get out of the back left door and walk around the back of the car, the guy forgot we were there. And so he threw the car in reverse and backed up right as we were passing behind his car. And the back rear bumper clipped me. And I was holding onto my mom's hand, but the force knocked me down, and the tire went completely over me. And so it was a bystander that saw the whole thing happen that came over and lifted the car enough so my mom could pull me out. And when she pulled me out, I was already gone. I was turning blue. I wasn't breathing, wasn't making a noise. And it was another witness who ran over. He saw the whole thing happen out of his bedroom window. And so he ran across the street and gave me CPR and mouth-to-mouth and revived me and kept me stable until the paramedics came. And then when my mom got to the hospital, I was already in surgery. And after surgery, they took her to this room and told her, so he's alive, but he's sustained a C4 or 5 incomplete spinal cord injury, and he's never going to be able to move anything below the neck again. I was 14 months old.
I remember that day vividly. I remember waking up with the sun on my face. I remember excited about the new bike that I was riding. I remember the coffee that morning, excited to get to the shop. I had nobody to ride with. My mechanic wasn't there. The bike was just rebuilt, and I needed some gas for the bike. And there was an old can of gas sitting up on the shelf, and I knew it was bad. I knew it had been sitting there for a while, but I needed it. I needed to go ride this thing. And knowingly, I pulled that stuff off the shelf, and I filled the bike up with it and went on about it. Went out to the track. I remember a little superstitious back then. I put my left boot on first, my right knee brace, going through all those motions. It's kind of a ritual. Jumping out of the back of the truck, riding the bike, and I remember the bike running like crap. There was a young girl that was there with me that I just took to, be with me and take lap times, and so I wasn't alone. I knew that much. And I just remember coming through this really nice left-hand corner. There was a rut and a really rough straightaway up to a big step up. Third gear pinned on a 125, so 80 plus feet. And I'd been hitting it, for 20 minutes before that. Every lap, no problem. But right as I hit the lip this time, the bike was like, and it bogged, meaning like the engine almost seized, stopped running. And what that did was it kicked me over the handlebars. And I remember flying through the air, stepping over the front of the bike, and I was worried about breaking my femur. I had new knee braces on, so I thought, if I'm going to land on my feet from this high, I'm going to snap my femur. But I kept over-rotating in the air, and momentum had me head down, face down.
I was so excited. I had such a great summer playing basketball. I felt like I was at the top of my game. I was playing in a basketball tournament at LA Baptist High School, and I was coming on the wing and took a couple dribbles, came up to lay the ball up. A defender came in front of me. I brought the ball down. My legs got taken out from underneath me from being low-bridged. I laid the ball up, fell on my back. I made the layup, which was great because that would have made my story kind of lame. But anyways, I made the layup, went back on defense, and I was super ecstatic because I was playing really well. I ended up getting all tournament team, so I was really, really pumped. But my mom, my dad, my brother, my coach, they were all concerned about that fall because it made a loud smack. So anyways, it's around like December, and we ended up going to another high school basketball tournament at Calabasas High School, and I remember warming up, and I was like, man, my back is just killing me. I don't know what's going on, but it just was absolutely horrific. And in the game, I'm like bringing the ball up because I was our point guard, and I just started getting horrible, horrible pain in my back, and I wasn't able to like run.
It was Memorial Day. We ran up to Pirates Cove, and we're hanging out up there, having a good old time. And then, I decided, hey, we're playing horseshoes up on the beach, and it got hot. So I was like, I want to jump off the boat and jump in the water. I forgot we were in shallow water, so when I jumped off the boat, I hit the bottom, instantly broke my neck, and sat there floating in water probably for like a minute before I was actually face down in the water, and for like a minute before someone came and got me.
I was coming home from hanging out with friends on a Sunday afternoon. As I was driving home, I had my bag on my passenger seat of my car, and my cell phone rang. I turned around to pick up my cell phone. As I did that, I noticed that my truck was driving over to a wall. And to avoid the wall, I turned the steering wheel, and as I did that, my truck flipped over. And the last words I said were, "Oh, fuck." I knew that something was bad, and that I blacked out. I remember waking up at the hospital hours later, doctors around me asking me, touching me, if I was able to feel things. And I just remember vaguely thinking, very little I do. I feel something. So I just remember going into surgery, waking up the next morning. I looked over, my dad and my best friend were sitting next to me, and I was trying to comprehend what had just happened. If I can't be the same person that I was before, why am I still here? I wanted them to like do something to just end my life. I just couldn't. I didn't see how I would continue living like that or like this.
I remember looking at all the nurses and saying, "You guys are my angels and you're going to protect me." And then I just remember looking at the clock and then passing out. I just woke up and I was like, like that, because I had tubes in my mouth. They did my surgery like leaning up and they cut me open back here. So I woke up like I was like born again. And I just remember thinking like, wow, this is crazy. I'm connected to all these tubes. I'm 15 years old. I got a game to play next week, man. They got to take this off of me and I got to get out. I got transferred to Northridge Hospital, and that's when the doctor told me that I'd never walk again. And I said, "How many people have walked out of your hospital?" He said, "Not many." And I said, "Well, add me to that list because I'm not leaving here till I walk again." I walked out of the hospital on forearm crutches, so I kept that promise to myself, to the doctor who diagnosed me, to my parents. So that was awesome. I walked out on forearm crutches and I had a wheelchair for long distances, and nothing held me back. I lived my life with no limits. I lived my life not being handicapped. I lived my life not being disabled, and I can do anything that I want in this world, and the only person that can stop me is myself.